Hi, my name is Jones Muna. Today, we discuss foundations of counseling. The speed and complexity of modern life continue to increase, as do people's expectations from it. Coping well requires autonomous and flexible thinking and clear decisions. Unfortunately, most of us have been conditioned to conform, not think for ourselves. Counseling skills help people to change as they learn to think things through for themselves and make their own decisions, free of the effects of past conditioning. What is counseling for? When we seek or accept help with an issue we have been unable to resolve on our own, there is often an emotional component in the situation. We often feel bad about needing help. The problem may itself cause confusing feelings. It is extremely difficult to think clearly when we are feeling strong feelings, whether good or bad. The primary function of counseling is to help people think clearly when feelings are present. The feelings can arise from an experience in the present. Hearing your job is redundant would obviously generate negative feelings in most people. Someone who got into trouble with a superior at work might equally find meeting a senior administrator intimidating. This would remind that person of the earlier painful experience. He or she would then find it hard to think. Counseling takes place when a counselor sees a client in a private and confidential setting to explore a difficulty the client is having, distress they may be experiencing, or perhaps their dissatisfaction with life, or loss of a sense of direction and purpose. It is always at the request of the client, as no one can properly be sent for counseling. By listening attentively and patiently, the counselor can begin to perceive the difficulties from the client's point of view and can help them to see things more clearly, possibly from a different perspective. Counseling is a way of enabling choice or change, or of reducing confusion. It does not involve giving advice or directing a client to take a particular course of action. Counselors do not judge or exploit their clients in any way. In the counseling sessions, the client can explore various aspects of their life and feelings, talking about them freely and openly in a way that is rarely possible with friends or family. Bottled up feelings such as anger, anxiety, grief, and embarrassment can become very intense, and counseling offers an opportunity to explore them, with the possibility of making them easier to understand. The counselor will encourage the expression of feelings, and as a result of their training will be able to accept and reflect the client's problems without becoming burdened by them. Acceptance and respect for the client are essentials for a counselor, and as the relationship develops, so too does trust between the counselor and client, enabling the client to look at many aspects of their life, their relationships, and themselves, which they may not have considered or been able to face before. The counselor may help the client to examine in detail the behavior or situations which are proving troublesome, and to find an area where it would be possible to initiate some change as a start. The counselor may help the client to look at the options open to them and help them to decide the best for them. What are counseling skills? Your job as a counselor is to help the other person, the client. If the client is to feel safe enough to be open about his thoughts and feelings, she needs to feel safe, respected, and understood. Some skills are listed here below that you need to have. How does counseling work? All humans have immense potential and are intrinsically intelligent, powerful, cooperative, zestful, and loving. Unfortunately, this basic nature is often obscured as we grow older. Our nature is such that we are easily hurt, and when hurting, our thinking process shuts down. When we act without thinking, the consequences often cause further hurts, distress, which reduce our capacity to think in the situation still further. We then behave in a rigid, stereotyped way. Every time we experience a situation that reminds us enough of the original situation in which we were hurt, this complex process develops rigid, patterned responses to situations, rather than a flexible, appropriate response. Fortunately, we have highly effective mechanisms for discharging our hurts, and thus recovering our ability to think in any situation. A child that is experiencing or has experienced hurt will typically find someone, often an adult, and get this person to pay attention to him. The children will then talk actively, laugh, sweat, shake, have a tantrum, storm, cry, or yawn. If the adult can stay in touch with the child, perhaps offer a warm hug or hold a hand. The child will discharge the painful emotion exhaustively and then go back to playing, etc., quite freely and with no rigidities installed by the hurtful experience. The above describes the counseling process in its natural state. Unfortunately, most adults have had their discharge processes thoroughly interfered with in their childhood, so will suppress the exhaustive discharge required because it disturbs them. Children quickly learn that discharging painful emotion is punished and learn further rigid ways of controlling their feelings, when discharging them would be helpful. In the counseling process, the counselor provides the love, safety, and attention necessary for the client to feel his feelings and discharge them. The feelings that condition behavior in rigid patterns may arise from present hurts or past hurts. It is necessary for the counselor to examine many ways to identify and outwit the client's patterns, including the control patterns, so they can discharge. Counseling or psychotherapy training? It is not possible to make a generally accepted distinction between counseling and psychotherapy. There are well-founded traditions which use the terms interchangeably and others which distinguish between them. If there are differences, then they relate more to the individual psychotherapists' or counselors' training and interests, and to the setting in which they work, rather than to any intrinsic difference in the two activities. A psychotherapist working in a hospital is likely to be more concerned with severe psychological disorders than with the wider range of problems about which it is appropriate to consult a counselor. In private practice, however, a psychotherapist is more likely to accept clients whose need is less severe. Similarly, in private practice, a counselor's work will overlap with that of a psychotherapist. Those counselors, however, who work for voluntary agencies or in educational settings such as schools and colleges usually concentrate more on the everyday problems and difficulties of life than on the more severe psychological disorders. Many are qualified to offer therapeutic work which in any other context would be called psychotherapy. Mental health counseling. Mental health counseling is an important intervention for helping people maintain mental wellness. Counseling is focused on educating, guiding, and referring people in the community to psychological support services as opposed to psychotherapy, where professional therapists administer established formal techniques. Specifically, mental health counseling involves empathic listening, understanding the basic signs of psychological distress, and problem-solving skills, including basic advice on how to cope with distress and obtain a more detailed evaluation and treatment if necessary. Counselors also provide individuals, families, and the community with information about mental wellness and raise the public's awareness of stigma and other key mental health issues through community education activities. Modes of counseling. Individual counseling. Counseling for individuals may aim to improve knowledge or to provide an outlet for expressing feelings associated with mental health conditions. Group counseling. There are many different types of therapeutic groups. People can come together on a variety of shared concerns, issues, and conditions. Some groups require a different approach from other groups. E. G. A group focused on medical issues and their consequences ask for a different approach than a group focused on psychological issues or traumatic experiences. In some groups, the group leaders will find some participants who are eager to share their experiences and some who are hesitant to speak. The intellectual and emotional levels of the groups may vary and therefore impact the methods used in program planning. Some groups may be led by professional psychotherapists, while others, such as self-help groups, are initiated by facilitators with basic group support skills. Self-help groups. A self-help group is a group of people with the same kind of experiences who meet on a regular basis to help each other to deal with issues related to a health condition or specific experience. People with similar experiences can help each other in the healing process. In self-help groups, people can find support, attention, and other participants who can be examples of how to deal with problems. These groups are usually flexible and without a set number of sessions. Participants may attend when they want, and facilitation or leadership of the group is less structured. Self-help groups may be useful as a single supportive intervention or in combination with other interventions such as individual counseling. These may be formed in the community or in a healthcare setting. The purpose of self-help groups is to provide a means for sharing information and knowledge about a problem, meeting others who can empathize because of having a similar experience, support and empowerment, recognition and acknowledgement, self-expression and making contact, regaining self-confidence, learning alternative constructive coping methods. Advantages in ways that self-help groups may differ from professional psychotherapy groups include: leaders and participants have had similar experiences and both openly share their experiences. There's less potential for power differences between facilitator and group's members. Self-help groups may be less expensive and therefore more accessible, as professional therapists may charge significant fees for their services. Possible disadvantages of self-help groups include potential periods where emotional turbulence and conflict between group members is less controlled since there is less structure and professional guidance. No guarantee of continuity since regular attendance is not a set rule and group leadership can change frequently. Screening participants is limited, so there may be difficulty in aging the needs of individuals who have emotional or intellectual capacities that vary significantly from other group members. In acutely stressful situations such as situations of massive loss, people may find that sharing experiences with others amplifies their distress rather than reduces it.